Tamara's going to escort her guests up here. Let's give a big warm welcome to Liam and Kelly. Come up here.
Can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Come on, all those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing.
You wouldn't have a fan club, would you? I think you have somewhere. You got a fan club. Excited? Yep. All right. So, tell us a little bit about you guys, first of all. Some lovely photograph there getting married.
That was supposed to be an hour and a half time.
Today?
Yeah.
It was meant to be today.
And we changed it to last weekend.
You're kidding. Why? Because of this?
Yeah.
Did you book the conference in?
Wow! So you've been married a week.
Yes, 7 days today.
How did you get everybody reorganised?
Well, we weren't
good.
very organised in the first place. So it's easy.
It's easy. So you weren't going to be married for another hour. Well, look at the rain. Hey, you must have had a great weekend last weekend.
And is this not the best honeymoon that you can have? paid for, sweeter Sofitel.
We're taking you out for dinner tonight.
I know.
Yeah. How about that?
So good start. Good first week. It's been pretty full on.
It's been pretty full on. Well, that's excellent. Excellent. So how did you end up coming to I Love? What was the backstory?
So we kind of make jokes about being like one-day groupies because we are from regional North Queensland, so we went to the evening seminars a couple of times, and when we went to them, we'd take friends and family with us who would be like, oh, what are you doing? You know, you aren't in a good position, don't do it. And so we didn't tell anyone, and we booked flights to Brisbane and came down and went to one day knowing we were going to sign up before we even walked in the door. So.
Very good. So what was your starting position? We've got a little bit of a chart here. Says you got a lot of sort of fears, volatile markets, negatively geared, not much equity.
Yeah, so we both purchased in my hometown at the top of the mining boom. So
Which is?
Mackay. Mm-hmm. So up North Queensland. Go on, North Queensland. A couple of other Mackay people from last year. So yeah, we purchased up there. I purchased in 2010, Liam in 2011, and our properties had both lost about 35%.
Yep.
So it was about $200,000, and so we had about $30,000 in equity, but technically that's more than tied with a 20% loan. So yeah, that was kind of our position.
So that's a pretty tough starting position. So what gave you faith in being able to move forward? What were some of the things about I Love that attracted you there?
We were both fans of the idea of positive cash flow.
Yeah.
And you could see that positive cash flow was possible being in a market like we'd been in, so we did know it existed. But I think just understanding that manufactured growth was really the way, rather than trying to keep your fingers crossed on...
That's right. Not just buy and hope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Which is the way most people tend to do it. So what action did you take?
So we leased out the rooms in Liam's house to try and help us a little bit there.
And that's in a flat market, guy. This is in a market where, you know, it's tough to get tenants. It's in a down market. So for you to be able to rent them out room by room, it's a great story.
Yeah, so the vacancy rate was sitting at about, I think, 9-10%.
Yeah.
It's doing a lot better now. It's only about 6.5%. So we're pretty happy with that. But I think it's really about finding something that the market needs. And the market did not need a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-garage house. And if you wanted one of them, you could get one for about $200 a week.
Yeah.
But it's not what anyone wanted.
So what did everyone want?
So furnished properties and small spaces.
Okay, so what do you rent a room for?
$150.
So that $50 a week, a room for $150 or a 4-bedroom house for $200, you know, we look at that and go, that doesn't compute. But it actually does, because people don't want the commitment and all the rest of it. And of course, in that $150, it's furnished and you're paying the electricity and bits and pieces.
Yep.
Well, that really must have turned things around a little bit to make them a little bit more positive.
Yes, that was a good starting point. That helped a lot.
Okay, you renovated your place?
Yeah, so we renovated that place before to sort of help with getting tenants in and making it a bit more suitable for the market we were targeting.
So what's this about your mum's place?
So my mum bought property in Moranbah. Well, actually, she built 2 townhouses out there.
Yeah.
With the plan that she was going to sell one, and then the cost to split it seemed too much to her at the time, and so she didn't, and she decided to hold them both. And they were cross-securitized with our family home. So the debt on those properties was quite a lot higher than the current value. She's been lucky enough to hold on to those properties. She's kept tenants through them, but we didn't think that there was a high possibility that wasn't going to be the outcome.
Yeah.
So in 2014, we bought a property that was somewhere for Mum to stay, and so she leased her properties to try and create some income to help her with her expenses.
Okay. Nice kids you are. Okay, so this was Liam's property, a little bit of a renovation there, was it?
Yep, that was a pretty big renovation, yeah.
Got a few pictures there of what you did, which you're working in the guts of it there.
Yeah, so this one's actually our first deals after joining.
Okay.
So obviously we didn't have money. We both work full time, so we were both working 50 plus hours a week in our day jobs. But there's a lot more hours in a day. So we worked out how to squeeze more into our day, and we bought this property. It was a mortgagee in possession. It was advertised for offers over 110. Been on the market about 12 months at the time. So we bought this property for $85,000. We spent just under $20,000 on it doing it up. So we found about $36,500 to do it. We spent about 513 hours. I'm a little bit of a spreadsheet nut.
Now, when I read that, and I'm going 513, not 12 and not 14, and so they are spreadsheeting, and they have to lock in, lock out, clock in, clock out at every hour that they do on their deals. But there is a reason behind it, and it's proved you very, to serve you very well to account for that.
So we are doing really low-end deals, and so there's not a great amount of dollar money in them, but from the position we were in, we needed something. So the reason we started tracking our hours was because we wanted to know whether we were being paid more than we get paid in our day jobs. And
how did that work out?
Yeah, we got paid more than we got paid in our day jobs.
But also, on the second deal, which we'll get to, you significantly improved on that time frame, and that was obviously the key to keeping track of it. Because if you don't keep track of things, you don't really know how long it really takes.
So, what did this one revalue at?
So the next slide. So this is the renovation we completed on that property. So it looks a bit different than the
meth house it was.
Yeah.
We should put that into the Investar search, meth house.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some funny things with this property when we bought it. One of them was the air conditioner. So there's an air conditioner on the wall, and it looked like it was in quite good condition. So we said to the real estate agent, does the aircon work? He said, yeah, I think it does. Power's not been on for a while, but I'm pretty sure it did. Oh, yeah, cool. So we went to test it when we turned the power on.
After we bought it.
And it had never been installed. So there was no holes in the wall. They've screwed the inside unit to the wall, and they've placed the outside unit on a couple of pavers, and that was it.
Saves the installation.
Yeah, that was staging, if you can stage a meth house. I don't know.
Stage an air conditioner. Okay, so you got some money out of that one, the $44,000 redraw on a low-end property. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so we got it revalued at $140.
We're able to positive cash flow.
Yeah, able to redraw on it, so that was enough money for us to look at what we were going to do next. And rented it at $320 a week with a positive cash flow of about $6,000 a year.
Fantastic! Yay! Bad market, turn it into positives. All right. So what was the next one? Similar kind of deal by the look of it.
Yes, so we thought it worked, and we hear that if you find something that works, you should try and do it again. So
less hours on this one.
Yeah, so we did it again, but this time we decided to adjust our strategies a little bit just to see if we could get the same sort of uplift or not. So this property, we painted the bathroom tub, we painted the asbestos walls in the bathroom, we painted the kitchen cupboards, anything that we could paint instead of having to replace, we had a go at that with this property. So it was a lot quicker, saved us a bit of money, and the reval on this property
Woohoo!
was better.
There you go. Very nice. And well staged.
Yeah, so we are renting the properties furnished because that's what the market needs.
Yeah.
So makes it good for that side of things as well.
So 64 out of this one when you're finished and $5,000 positive cash flow.
Yep.
So you're accumulating, using this lower end stuff to manufacture growth, manufacture income and keep going.
Yeah, and the market's really... the market hasn't moved. It's still sitting at the bottom. So to try and sell the properties would actually be difficult as well. And when you're getting a positive cash flow and able to redraw, you don't have to sell them.
That's right.
So
yeah. And when the market does move again eventually, you've got lots of properties that are able to move with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're staying in the one area because that's where you live.
Yep.
And you know the market.
Yep.
Down the track, I'd like you to diversify.
Yes, so so moving forward, we are looking. We might do another one yet there.
All right.
But after that, that's it. So I think we said that last time, actually.
But I mean, you are coming in at the bottom of the market too. So there's only one way up. That's the way. So it's not such a bad thing. If you're coming in the top of the market, different story. But one market will do what one market does. A little bit of diversification wouldn't hurt. Down the track.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the next deal.
So we thought we'd do it again.
Surprise, surprise. It worked. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So this property was, the last two were both mortgagee in possessions. This one was actually a deceased estate.
Okay.
It's...
God, the hours are getting less. 220 on this one.
Yeah, we're getting better. But so this property we offered it's actually in the same complex as the first one. And so we went and spoke to the sister of the lady who did own it and sort of said, what's your plan with it? What are you doing? And they said, we're selling it. None of us want anything to do with it. So we actually offered them $92,000 prior to it going to auction. Mm-hmm. But they weren't happy.
It was on the market for 200.
It was on the market for 200?
When she was alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she died.
Yeah. And there was no room to do anything with it at 200. But yeah, so they took it to auction and we...
Were the only bidder?
Were the only bidder.
And they begged you to put in a bid?
Yeah, so we did go along not really... we kind of went along being like, what would we be mad if someone else got it for? But we didn't really want it because we were still in the process of doing our second one. And we sort of... when you're doing renovation after renovation after renovation...
It's hard work and work.
Hard work and tiring.
And you're doing full-time work still.
Yeah, and we're both still working full-time, so...
So don't you give me any excuses about not having any time.
Yeah. Yeah, so we weren't jumping up going, we want this property. We kind of went going, see what happens.
Yeah.
And our last bid was 85, I think, for this one, and then another guy bidded 86.
Okay.
And then they begged us to bid 87.
So you bid at 87. And you got it.
So they actually paid less than what they had originally offering before it went to auction. So
yeah.
Okay, so what did you do to this one? Looking very nice. You must be getting pretty quick at laying down those floors.
Yeah, we're pretty good at the flooring now. Yeah. Not my favourite job though. No. But the second unit was hard timber floors upstairs, so we polished them. Mm-hmm. I would rather lay floors than polish timber floors anyway.
Did you polish them yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, that's hard work.
Yeah, I think my back for the next few days I was not the best, but it's all right.
Yeah.
But this one we got a decent reval as well, and a cash flow of $7,600 a year.
So again, it's furnished. You rent it out furnished. You got a higher return, so it's positive cash flow.
Yep.
Fantastic. And how big are these units? So 1, 2s?
Two, all twos.
All 2 bedders. All right. So what are we doing?
So this one here was one of the properties we had prior to joining. It had tenants in it at the time. The tenants that were in there were decent tenants for the first 2 years. They were still paying a higher than normal rent. And then he lost his job. And so he got his brother to move in to help. His brother didn't have a job. So this property in the last sort of 3 months of these guys being in there was a really bad downward spiral, to the point of us having to evict them. And the condition it was left in was...
Not good.
Not good.
The dog moved in as well.
Yeah.
And
And a big dog that was in the house. So yeah, it was not very nice. So once we finished the third renovation, we went back. So this one sat empty for a little bit, but while we were finishing the other one.
Yeah.
And then we went back in and renovated this one. So we...
Was this the renovation?
No,
No, we haven't got a picture of that.
Oh, yeah,
there
this
it is
one's
there.
here. Yeah. So yeah, this property we did the same thing. So furnished, rented out. So this property is sitting positively about 1,000, so it's fairly neutral. But obviously the purchase price and the loan against this property is quite a lot higher.
Yeah, okay.
And unfortunately, because the market to sell it's still not there. So if we were to sell it, we'd end up with
But at least you've
unsecured
turned the
debt.
property, even though it might have negative equity in it,
Yeah.
you've turned the property into positive, so it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt you to hold it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
In a bad market, that's good.
Yep.
So what are we doing here?
So with the second property, we worked with the Body Corp and had the gutters and stuff redone and everything before we got our reval done. And the first and the third property are in the process of being done at the moment. So the gutters and stuff should get done by the end of this month.
Right.
And if we look at revaluing, which we will down the track, but that should increase it by about 20 to 30,000 depending on the valuer on the day.
Very good. Okay, so you use the body corporate funds for that?
Yep, all Body Corporate funds. So that one's not us. Well, I think we did have to put a little bit of money in, about $200.
Okay.
So,
So what are some of the other things that are important to you?
so for us, a big part of it is just us even just talking about our future and where we want our life to go and things like that. So I guess prior to joining the community, we were kind of just cruising. Like it's easy to cruise and
Life happens.
life was just happening and that was fine. So I guess after the first boot camp, so we signed up in February 2016. So we went to the boot camp.
Did you get much opposition from family and friends when you signed up?
Oh, we didn't tell a lot of people at the start.
Joining that cult.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, definitely people were sort of a bit,
Yeah.
funny about it. But I guess as soon as people seen us do our first deal, they're kind of like, so what did you do? This looks all right. So now that we've done 4 renovations in the last 12 months, I think their opinion of it's changed a little bit. So.
Very good, okay.
But yeah, so we came to the boot camp in September and got our peg in the sand book and sort of were like, oh gosh, this is not that easy. But so Liam proposed on that trip while we were away.
Oh, very
So
good.
that was good.
So, was that part of the homework? Was that part of the homework session? Instead of getting out and doing the peg and you send in the homework, you thought you might just propose? So
Yeah,
you could-
something like that, yeah.
like I was always going to go around and get around to doing it, but just thought after that I was like, yep, let's just do it.
let's lock her in after she's just done all that hard work.
I knew she was a keeper, so
Very
So-
good.
And then really about talking, like there's a lot of friends and things now that will come and talk to us rather than go and buy a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Mackay.
So you're helping out others up
Yeah,
there
so
too.
there's that side as well. And obviously what we're able to do with Mum's property, which obviously if in the situation we're in with our properties going negative, that wouldn't have really been able to happen otherwise
right.
as well. So
Very good. Okay, so some of the learnings.
So yeah, a big one is looking for what your market needs. So, people will look at these properties and think, but they're not there. But you can look all up regional Queensland.
They're everywhere.
This deal is everywhere. You can see some of the deals Chris is doing and what he was mentioning this morning. Well, that's regional New South Wales. They're pretty much the same thing. But they're there and they're ones that you can get into without a lot of money or without a lot of experience or any of those sort of things. So I think just look for what a market needs and become really familiar with a market. Did you want to say about valuers?
Just be prepared when you see a valuer. The first two we were prepared. We did the
Comparable sales.
and
Yeah.
then the last one, Kel ran out of time with work, and then we kind of went there without the comparable sales, and it just didn't stack up. And then we got Cara, and we got another reval with the comparable sales, and we got another 30,000.
Yeah.
Just
So
to be prepared.
That's right.
Just from not being prepared for a valuer. So with what we do, well, we did on all of them other than that one we missed. So we'll do up a fact sheet with sort of what our property was like when we bought it, what it's like now, and a second page with what's sold in the area, which in our area is really difficult, but finding things that are as close as possible. So.
Okay, and don't overcapitalise. Big deal when you're renovating. It's one of the biggest number one rules. Don't overcapitalise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just making sure that you are really doing your numbers and not spending 50,000 on one of these renovations, because if we had, obviously there'd be no money left in a deal.
Right.
I think the other big thing is, I mean, these guys, clearly they're young. I'm sure they would have had a very vibrant social life. There's kite surfing going on. One of the houses is a kite surfing hub by the sounds of it. So that self-sacrifice that comes with this journey, I mean, to fit in, 4 renovations in less than 12 months, starting from absolute scratch, all those hours, if you added that up, that's a significant amount of time. So, the self-sacrifice that you have to commit to be able to progress yourself is huge.
Yep.
And here you are in what? This is Bunnings or IKEA, is it?
Bunnings.
Bunnings,
We don't have an
We don't
IKEA.
have IKEA.
But it was, I guess, a thing more about from the learning fact. Like, I think on that first property, I'm not sure if I should have calculated how many times I went to Bunnings and how many sausages I bought from out the front. But then by the 4th renovation, I think we did go to Bunnings maybe 2 more times after this. But we spent $3,000 in one shop before we'd...
Got everything you needed.
Yep, before we'd even...
Efficiencies.
Rip things out. So there's things like that obviously make that time come down.
And your final results? Looking a lot healthier.
Yeah, so it feels a lot nicer as well. Our equity position was sitting at about 35,000, and it's now at just over 250,000.
Very good.
So it's good in a market that hasn't moved.
That's exactly right.
And our cash flow was sitting at just under negative 30,000, and we're at like 18.5 positive now.
Very good. Must be happy paying tax.
Very
That's fantastic. And, one of the reasons that we really wanted to have you guys up here is because you're in such a flat market. That market particularly has been hit pretty hard with the whole mining flow on and everything else, but you're making money, you're making positive cash flow in a market that's dead.
Yep.
So you can do it anywhere. You absolutely can.
Yeah, and even like from that equity side, that's a market that hasn't moved.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
you
It
can
hasn't moved.
do
So
it all.
what's your advice?
Do it and don't make excuses. I don't remember. But I think don't make excuses is probably the big one. I think if we hadn't have joined, we would have been full of excuses. And by joining, that was probably one of the big things we went, stop making excuses.
Yeah.
And you've got to be willing to sacrifice. Like, one of my
Even
things...
changing your wedding day.
I know, exactly. Like, come on.
And one of her best friends is supposed to be getting married today too.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because
so
we changed ours back, so then she's
like, oh, that
came in.
weekend's free. But it's all good. She's super understanding and understands what we're doing. So, but yeah, I think be prepared to sacrifice things, and I think the amount of hours we spent on those renos, there was a lot of times where we had friends be, we're going out kite surfing or we're going to do this, and we're like, we put a lay floor. So yeah, I think.
And how do you handle doing platinum from a distance?
We haven't joined platinum yet.
Oh,
We
it's
were-
got a platinum tag around your neck.
I'm not sure how we got these ones this weekend, actually. So, we're Quantum members. And hopefully after this weekend, we might be able to become platinum members.
That's what you're hoping for, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, guys. Good on you. You've done fantastic. And thanks for changing your wedding day.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Good on you guys.
Awesome.
Give them a big round of applause.